You may or may not have seen the original video, The Effects of Marijuana. It's on my other channel. This is my new channel. Obviously, creating a new channel just kind of start new. I feel like, I don't know, I do that every once in a while, but this is my new channel. And ever since I made The Effects of Marijuana video, I regretted it because I feel like I didn't say enough background story and I didn't tell you guys enough about my life and why I'm so against marijuana and why, why it's bad for you and stuff like that. So I'm gonna start talking now about that stuff because this is my experience. This is my first-hand experience as to why marijuana is bad. And when you experience something like this, you are so strongly for it that you'll do anything to change at least one person's mind. So, yeah. So this whole incident, I'll call it, for lack of better words, happened when I was 4 years old. I was taken away to social services, me and my brothers, because of inhumane living conditions. And basically, we lived in townhouses. My mom, my two brothers, my dad, we lived in townhouses, and not to mention the fighting, the physical and verbal fighting that just went on all day, every day. I've grown to be a person who just thinks that's normal, but it's really not. So, yeah, we lived in townhouses, and my dad actually was cheating on my mom with the girl who literally, her house was attached to our house, because we lived in townhouses. She lived next door. So my mom kind of broke down, and she locked herself in her room for a few days, and it's not funny, I don't know why I laughed, but social services came because at the time my oldest brother was 14. My brother, who's older than me, was 5 or 6, and I was 4. And so they came and put us in a foster home. In this foster home, and another reason why we got taken away is because my dad was a drug addict. So, kind of can't live there. And by drug addict, I mean every drug. Not just marijuana, but crack and heroin and just a lot prescription pills, stuff like that. And so in the foster home, we were abused, and we were there for about a year. My brother, the oldest brother, he ran away, and he was on suicide watch for years. He was in and out of group homes, and he said that an incident that he'll never forget was when my dad stood him in front of a mirror and pulled up his shirt and slapped his gut and said, "When people ask me if you're my son, I say no." And to stop there, most people say that it depends on what kind of person you are when you smoke weed and marijuana. I know weed and marijuana are the same thing, but I don't like to call it weed, I call it marijuana. And that's not true. And I know that's not true, because what made my dad that way is all these drugs. And, my dad used to be a social worker. He had his master's degree and his bachelor's degree in social working, and they just collect dust. And, it's sad just to see, push away the side that he's my dad, but it's just sad to see the fact that someone with so much potential just threw away their life for a drug and let their kids suffer and think they're worthless. And you know, when you're in a foster home, especially when you're that young, all you want is to be loved, and all you want is to know that you have someone. And it's such a dark, lonely place, and it ruins you and takes your childhood away. And that's what drugs do. That's what drugs did to me, because the whole reason we got taken away is because my dad was doing drugs and made horrible decisions. But that's just the beginning. So my dad offered the oldest brother, who was on suicide watch in group homes all his life and has scars all on his wrists and hands and arms from when he used to cut himself, and there's scars, and he's now 25. I sound like a horrible person. I don't even know how old he is. He's 24, and he did that when he was 14, and they are deep scars. So my dad first offered him, I think it was marijuana, when he was 14, and then that, like, marijuana was the thing my dad offered him when he was 14, and he smoked that for about 2 years. And recently, when he was like 21, he has a daughter, by the way, and he's a lot better now, but he still smokes marijuana. But when he was 20, he hitchhiked to Vancouver from Alberta and was doing every drug, and he was homeless, and that's started with marijuana. So anyways, back to my dad. By the way, I have asthma and I have epilepsy. So epilepsy is basically when you have seizures. So just that will be important later on. So when we got out of a foster home, we lived with our dad, and me and my brother, not the older one, because he was in a group home. We lived with our dad in countless apartments. I don't even remember. But my dad has bipolar. He's depressed. Diagnosed depression, schizophrenia, and that's lethal. Like, that is a lethal mix. And this was caused by long-term use of marijuana, and that is what the doctors say. So I'm not just guessing. That is a reason, and I don't care if anyone says, "Oh, bullshit," you know, those doctors are lying. No, just no. So when we lived in apartments, it was just, I don't remember sleeping and feeling safe when we lived in those apartments, because my dad had all those problems. He always started problems. Something I'll never forget is when he took me on my first ride to his drug deal, and you know, when something like that happens, you feel pure betrayal. Like what the hell, Dad? Like, is this why you can't afford food? Because you're spending it on drugs? Is this why, you hide in the washroom for hours and we have to basically live by ourselves? Is this why I don't have a functional dad? Is this the reason? Is this really why you're letting us suffer, Sorry. And, there's just incidents where people just bang on the door all night, swearing and like, come out, you know, I want to fight you, and just like all night. Our house got broken into at least once a month. Our stuff was taken, my brother's stuff. My dad pawned all our stuff. And this is because he was so obsessed with getting, at this point, he didn't smoke. I know for a fact that he did not do any other drugs besides marijuana. I know for a fact, like, because I know in my other video, people were like, oh, he obviously did other drugs. But I know for a fact that's the only thing. So, he was just so obsessed with getting, you know, just more. And you can be addicted to marijuana, because my dad was and is. The longest I went without talking to my dad was like 8 months to a year. And I recently, because when you're in situations like that, you don't want to remember anything, so your mind blocks it out. And I have dreams sometimes of, like, dreams of just, like, running away and, like, hiding. And I remember hiding a lot, because when you're with someone with all those sicknesses, and plus he smokes marijuana, when he starts coming down from the high, I just, like, we grew accustomed of just knowing when to hide, because, you know, obviously my brother and I got physically abused, and just abuse, and that obviously wrecks you. And I remember when I was in one daycare where they actually, like I had bruises on my arms, and we went to the police, and they said it wasn't child abuse. And after that, I just didn't want to tell anybody, because it just, you don't think anyone cares. So my dad, you know, he's wrecked. And I can't say it's 100% because of marijuana, but it doesn't help, especially when you smoke marijuana for a long time, because it has THC in it. And if you don't know what THC is, people say marijuana doesn't kill brain cells. You are really stupid. I'm sorry, but that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Anything can kill your brain cells. So, obviously, inhaling something with high THC levels are going to kill your brain cells. Like, are you that? And just because it's a herb and it's all natural and you're nothing added to it, you don't know that. You don't know nothing is added to it unless you actually grow it yourself. You don't know that. And I think people who smoke marijuana are just really, really blind as to how damaging it can and probably will be in a long term of use. And to the people who think it's cool, and to the people who think, like, if it's cured cancer, then that's great. I'm glad that's what it did to you, but for me, that's not what it did. And if it's, like, made you less depressed, well, good, because that's just mental. And if you think marijuana can cure depression, you're stupid. And that's just the way it is, because that's what gave my dad depression, was all these drugs, and especially marijuana. So I don't want to make this video too long, but that is the effects of marijuana and other drugs. And I have depression, and I actually tried to kill myself in January, this year of January, because of my dad. And just the long term of being around my dad. And, you feel trapped. Like, you just feel so